We're going to move on next. Our next category is Best RPG, a category that gets more blurry by the year.
Yeah.
Because everything's like an RPG now.
The line between action-adventure and RPG is becoming nothing.
It really is just becoming the same thing. And the other interesting thing that I saw was if you looked at the Game Awards, and they had like best role-playing, and sometimes they had stuff like action RPGs, and sometimes they didn't. But usually, like a lot of the action RPGs were in Best Action Game, but then in Best RPG, they had Final Fantasy 15, and it's like Final Fantasy 15 is an action RPG. It's just like all these other games. It almost seemed like the Game Awards used role-playing category for Best JRPG.
Yeah, that was definitely...
Because Persona was in there, and that is probably a more traditional, because it's a turn-based RPG. But this is a category that is getting very murky, because RPG elements are creeping into everything. But for our purposes, action RPGs like Horizon and Zelda, and like you were saying earlier, games like Prey, those games all kind of fall into the RPG category for us. So,
I still would not quite put Zelda in the RPG category. Not yet. Not until they start adding some more hit points or some more like XP stuff. Like part of the... Because that's where the line breaks down. It's also like where does Zelda go, because Zelda invented adventure games. The action adventure game sort of begins with the original Zelda. Yeah. Has Zelda left its own genre at this point? Like,
we consider it an action RPG on SIFTD. In any game like that, Horizon Zero Dawn, probably maybe even the new God of War may end up falling into that. Any game that has crafting, leveling, experience points, like Assassin's Creed Origins would be an action RPG.
That would be, but like Zelda doesn't have experience points or levels.
Right.
So,
but it has every other element of...
Yeah, but Zelda's still an action adventure to me.
Okay.
Breath of the Wild is still an action adventure. Everything else you're saying, yeah. I mean, God of War maybe. Also, a skill tree. Like a skill tree is like if you're building the characters. I mean, I know you're upgrading stamina or health with Link or stuff, but that's not really the same thing as like custom. Like Assassin's Creed Origins is kind of the gold standard. Is like, is it an action RPG? Now it is. Yeah. I wouldn't have called the previous Assassin's Creed.
No, definitely not. Although they were close. They were inching that way.
It was not a huge jump to get to Origins in that regard, but like it's also just in how they co-opted how Witcher 3 works.
I think a lot of times, and I use it as a benchmark, is like Skyrim. I'm like, if this game reminds me of Skyrim, then it's probably an action RPG. And Zelda, in a lot of ways, does remind me of Skyrim.
Yeah, but for me, you have to be able to build the character in a more personalized way than you can in Zelda for it to be an RPG.
Other than like all the cosmetics and whatnot.
Yeah, like you have to be, because Skyrim has endless trees and abilities and things, and like Horizon has that, and Assassin's Creed has that. And I wouldn't put it past Nintendo to give that to Zelda, especially if they do like a Majora's Mask style thing. Like I could see them going full RPG with like an asset reuse, like sequel-ish kind of thing in 2 years or something, which I would be interested in actually. But it's a more complicated category every year.
It gets murkier every freaking year, because like now you have like puzzle RPGs, and it's
right.
It's like, where do you draw the line? But with all that said, we wanted to kind of set that up. Matt and I both chose the same game for the winner of this one, so we can say it together. The SIFTD 2017 Best RPG is
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, so you guys probably know, if you've been watching Game Face, that I have not had time to play this all year. It has been my mission for the past week and a half to play Horizon Zero Dawn, and that is exactly what I've been doing. It is an amazing, amazing game. Somebody asked me on Ask Shane Anything a couple weeks ago, like, what games do I play with my wife? What games kind of have an impact? My wife loves this game. Absolutely loves it. Like, I was just sitting playing it in the living room. She was doing her thing on her computer, and she just turned around. She goes, "What is this?" Wow. And she sat there and watched.
She doesn't react to that much.
Hardly ever. And she just literally sat there and watched me play it for like 25 minutes. I was like, wow, this is amazing. She hasn't paid this much attention to a video game since like Rock Band. So, yeah, I mean, and I think it is one of those games that kind of has that universal appeal. The writing is amazing. The story just gets better as it goes.
Yeah.
I think the one thing I would say is it does start a little slow, and that's kind of
a slow burn for sure.
Because that's kind of what happened to me with this game. It's like, okay, I'm going to get into this. I played the first couple hours of it, put it down, came back again, played the next like couple hours of it, put it down, and then once I kind of got over that whole like prologue part of it, that's when it really takes flight.
Yeah, like you got to get to Meridian
Yep.
before stuff starts. You really start to piece together what the world is, how it happened, and it's not what you think. It's almost certainly not. The world didn't end the way you think it ends by the context clues you pick up. Just being in the world, there's more to it than that. And I think the way they constructed it was very clever.
The combat in the game is amazing. It allows you to kind of tinker with it and experiment. I love the trapping aspect of this game. It makes you look at the environment in so many different ways. It's like, hey, how far apart are those two trees? Can I set a trap in between those two? And it just kind of makes you look at each combat situation or scenario in a different way than you would from a lot of other games in the genre. Obviously, it's freaking gorgeous. And we'll get to that a little later in the show, our Best Graphics Award. We'll see if it can take that. But it's a gorgeous game from both an artistic and a technical perspective. It's just the whole freaking package. I am loving Horizon Zero Dawn. And it's kind of funny to see. It was like our most anticipated game for last year, and now it finally has come out, and it's interesting to see that it's ultimately paid off, and it ended up being as good a game as we hoped it was going to be. So if you guys haven't bought or played this game yet, go get it.
Yeah.
Now it's got the DLC out there,
and
too.
And if you don't have a PS4, this isn't a bad reason to have one.
Nope, without a doubt. And it looks gorgeous on base PS4, too. You don't even need a Pro, but on Pro, it's like mind-blowing. So there you go. Best RPG of 2017, Horizon Zero Dawn.